Appeal, distinguished governors, the Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, the President of the National Industrial Court, Chief Justices of the various states here present, the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, the Honorable Attorney Generals of the various states here present, the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, of course our host, the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, the NBA General Secretary, the NBA National Officers, past presidents of the NBA here present, past General Secretaries, the NBA President-elect, the NBA General Secretary-elect, the newly elected NBA National Officers.
I want to welcome you in a very special way to the annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association for the year 2018. It is a conference that brings together lawyers, more than 120,000 practicing lawyers in Nigeria, the largest single professional body next to the teachers, I must admit. This annual conference is the 58th edition, and it is an opportunity for the Nigerian Bar Association to do a stock taking of its own performance, a stock taking of the nation's polity, the stock taking of the nation's rule of law performance, and of course would always delve and try to go into the future. Femi Okewo is my name, and I will be joined later on in the program with my colleague, Dele Atumbi. And on behalf of the Nigerian Television Authority, we bring you this live telecast, which is being graced in a very special way by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. Let me also inform you at this stage that the guest speaker for this 58th Annual General Conference is the President of Ghana, President Nana Akufo, who is not here today but will deliver his keynote address in the keynote sessions. There is a session that they call the key sessions that will be done on Monday. That is tomorrow. And you can see from the attendance that it is a well-graced event by all well-meaning lawyers who are concerned not only about the fortunes, the fate of their profession, but also the fortunes of Nigeria.
The President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Abubakar Balarabe Mahmoud, OON-SEN. Please put your hands together for him as he comes to deliver the opening speech.
Your Excellencies, my Lords, Your Highness, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all most heartily to the Nigeria Bar Association 2018 Annual General Conference. I'm particularly delighted to have in our midst His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, who has graciously accepted to give a remark and also declare the conference open. The presence of His Excellency, the President, I believe is a testimony of his commitment to the rule of law and respect for the legal profession. The theme of our conference this year is Transition, Transformation, and Sustainable Institutions. The choice is not by accident. It builds on our theme for last year, which was also around institution building, albeit last year with a stronger focus on economic institutions and African business. This year, our country is passing through political transition, which should lead to a general election early in the coming year. It is therefore apt to focus on political aspects of our transitions and remind ourselves and all political actors of their responsibilities to guarantee the continued development of Nigeria's democracy. Long term, this can only be achieved and anchored on sustainable institutions. We are also aware that we live in turbulent times globally. Disruptive innovations, particularly in technological fields, climate change, continue to exert influence, shaping dynamics of local events and also defining global trends. Nigeria must grapple with the impact of these dynamic forces that continue to shape social and economic developments. The presentations and discussions around the various sub-themes of the conference cut across various issues such as conflict, global warming, security and the rule of law, technological innovations, diversity and inclusion, as well as sustainable economic development. The Nigeria Bar Association remains deeply concerned that our transformative journey to a stable, prosperous country remains hampered by the absence of strong, accountable, and sustainable institutions. We are convinced that our huge potential, either as a country or indeed as a continent, cannot be unleashed until we overcome the challenge of institution building. Rule of law and democracy can only be guaranteed or anchored on strong institutions built on clear, fair, and transparent processes with predictable outcomes. Your Excellencies, my Lords, distinguished guests, tomorrow we will have the privilege of listening to the President of Ghana, His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo, give the keynote address to this conference. We're hoping that President Akufo-Addo will speak not only to the theme of the conference, but will offer some insights into Ghana's promising transformative strides, and perhaps some lessons, even if tentative, for us here in Nigeria. Ghana's global ranking, for instance, out of 190 countries ranked by the World Bank in ease of doing business, starting a business, and getting electricity, is 120, 110, and 136 respectively, compared to Nigeria's rankings of 145, 130, and 172 respectively. In the field of administration of justice, Ghana has made encouraging progress in the reform of its justice system, in creating functional and more efficient commercial courts, in fighting corruption in the judiciary, and generally improving the justice sector. Notably, only in July this year, President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo appointed 4 new justices to the Supreme Court of Ghana. Amongst them, a senior private practitioner and an academic, in a bold move to strengthen and bring diversity to the Ghanaian Supreme Court. At this juncture, I would like to congratulate our own Chief Justice, Walter Samuel Onogin, GCON, for his innovative reforms since he assumed office as the Chief Justice of Nigeria. On Wednesday, 29th August, we'll be having a special session with the Chief Justice as he speaks on the ongoing reforms and also sets his vision for the Nigerian judiciary. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, my Lords, distinguished colleagues, the Nigerian Bar Association is also grappling with its own issues as it seeks to transform itself and spearhead the reform of the legal profession. We have spent a considerable amount of energy and resources in the last 2 years working on the regulatory reform of the legal profession, with a view to strengthening it and enhancing its standards and rebuilding the confidence of the Nigerian people in the profession. I will, on Thursday, 30th August, set out the details of these efforts and our various initiatives, which we hope the incoming administration of the NBA will continue to build on. Mr. President, permit me to speak briefly to our public interest engagements, which link directly to the theme of this conference. The Nigeria Bar Association has in the last 2 years taken considerable interest in the rising communal and other conflicts across the country. I've led a number of NBA missions to various conflict areas and held town hall meetings in our quest to intervene and promote peaceful coexistence amongst various communities. I led a mission in February 2017 to southern Kaduna. Earlier this year, we were in Benue State to intercede in the farmers' hardest conflicts. Our Northeast and Niger Delta task forces have worked in these 2 regions, coordinating our efforts on support to IDPs, promoting reconciliation and dispute resolution, and redressing human rights abuses. The NBA, working with other civil society groups and justice sector institutions, is driving an initiative to develop a transitional justice legal and policy framework to aid peace building and reconciliation in conflict areas. Working with the Bar Human Rights Committee of the Bar Council of England and Wales, we have organized training programs for lawyers to improve their skills and expertise to deliver pro bono legal services to victims and communities in the Northeast and the Niger Delta regions. On this note, I would like to particularly appreciate Mrs. Cassie Bramlow QC, Chairperson of the Bar Council Human Rights Committee, who is here with us this evening, who led the training teams and has visited Nigeria several times for this purpose. Only last week, Mrs. Bramlow was here in Abuja with other experts from the UK and the Netherlands, training about 100 lawyers on environmental law and alternative dispute resolution in the Niger Delta. She returned yesterday at our invitation to participate in this conference. I also welcome Stephen Richman, Chairman of the International Committee of the American Bar Association, who is coming to Nigeria for the first time in furtherance of our partnership with the American Bar Association, and will be hosting a special session during this conference. Your Excellency, our most recent public interest engagement was a mission to Zamfara State, which I led a little over a week ago. I would like to state that our findings, as tentative, as hesitant, or hesitant as they may be, are quite disturbing. We commend your government's effort in containing the situation and the military operation currently going on in Zamfara State. We observed only yesterday you paid a surprise visit to the troops operating in the region, with a charge to them to deal firmly with the situation. However, it appears to us that at the heart of this conflict is a weakened state system. There appears to be systemic collapse of institutions of governance, both at the local and state levels. In many parts of the state, as we have seen in other places, there's clear evidence of failure of the justice system. In Zamfara State, many ordinary people complain to us about how the police, the court system, and traditional institutions have become avenues of extortion and oppression, and how the authority of bandits and other non-state actors is supplanting that of the state agents. At a town hall meeting in Gusau, many speakers narrated stories of failure of formal systems of dispute resolution. Many spoke openly of the persistent absence of the governor from the state and his failure to provide effective leadership on the ground. We have not yet had the opportunity to speak with the governor, but these complaints remain worrisome. When we visited Zurmi, 2 hours from Gusau, that is the state capital, the accounts of the local community leaders painted a picture of a much more grim situation. We are informed by government of Zamfara State that it has so far spent 17 billion naira funding military and security operations, and in addition had purchased 400 vehicles for logistic support for these operations. Your Excellency, if this is so, these are vital state resources which in our view should have gone to improve social programs and to fund local services. We are told, for instance, at a town hall meeting, that the State Minister of Justice has no operational vehicle. We think it is the responsibility of the federal government to fund federal security operations in the state, rather than creating heavy additional burdens on scarce state resources. Such security operations should not be allowed to create an opaque avenue for public expenditure which diverts resources and that cannot be adequately accounted for. Mr. President, many community leaders also lament the inability of the state and courts, the police and courts, to bring the bandits to justice, even when they are apprehended. It appears that there's an urgent need to come to the aid of the state civil justice system, which seems incapable of trying the bandits who now operate like terrorists, brutalizing the local communities. Our concern is that if concerted efforts are not made to address the Zamfara situation, it is capable of spreading to neighboring states and creating another major regional theater of conflict and social dislocation. Your Excellency, we are approaching another cycle of election and political activities have gained momentum. I want to commend your administration for the swift and effective response to the recent embarrassing siege on the National Assembly. But beyond that, we must appeal to political actors, including those holding the reins of power at all levels, to respect and remain faithful to the Constitution. We call on security agencies to remain professional in their roles and also to uphold the Constitution whilst remaining loyal to constituted civil authority. The Nigerian Bar Association will remain vigilant in the defense of the Constitution and the rule of law. I want to conclude these brief remarks, Your Excellency, by saying how excited we are about this year's conference, which promises to be as successful as that of last year. And we thank you and we thank all our partners for their support. I thank Mr. President, Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, for the great honor in accepting our invitation to be here this evening, despite your numerous state obligations. I thank you for your attention. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Long live the Nigerian Bar Association. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahmoud.
President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Abubakar Mahmoud, there speaking. The next speaker is going to be the chief host, if you like. That's the governor of the state where this function is being held. That is the minister of the FCT. Minister of the FCT, who would, again, just like the NBA president has done, welcome everybody who has been here.
Abubakar, who is also with us today. Thank you so much, and my sincere apologies for that. I would also like to again apologize by not recognizing our next speaker, who is the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami.
Event that they had as a committee visiting the Zamfara State, and now this is going to be the Minister of Justice who is going to talk, Abubakar Malami, not the Minister of FCT as has been reflected in the program. Abubakar Malami, they are speaking.
Onogen, GCON, Chief Justice of Nigeria, the President, Nigerian Bar Association, Abubakar Balarabe Mahmoud, OON, SAN, Your Excellencies, the Executive Governors of Kano and Bauchi, Your Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido, the President-elect of the Nigerian Bar Association, Paul Osaro, SAN, distinguished senators and members of the National Assembly, House of Reps, here and present, my lords, the justices of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, judges of the High Court and FCT High Court and Federal High Court here present, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to deliver this goodwill message on the occasion of the opening ceremony of the 2018 annual conference of our esteemed association. I commend our outgoing president, Mr. Abubakar Balarabe Mahmoud, SAN, and his executive committee, and congratulate our new president of the bar, Mr. Paul Osaro, SAN, and his team on the leadership transition which the NBA has witnessed this year. I trust that this conference will exceed our common expectations and further consolidate the place of the NBA as Nigeria's premier association of professionals. Let me in a special way, and on behalf of the bar, also welcome His Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, for gracing this conference with his presence. Your Excellency, we appreciate your gesture, which is a demonstration of the high esteem in which you hold this great association of ours. I also appreciate the presence of all other dignitaries from within and outside Nigeria who have come to associate with the NBA at this great conference. Our theme for this year's conference, which is Transition, Transformation, and Sustainable Institution, is most apt and demonstrates our vision as an association ready to actively play our role as agents of societal transformation in an environment which guarantees the good of the great number. You recall that in my first address to NBA during the Port Harcourt conference in 2016, I had affirmed that the present administration will use the instrumentality of the law to drive its agenda of positive change and therefore sought the cooperation of the NBA in that regard. In about 2 years since that address, our country and our profession has witnessed developments and initiatives in the application of the rule of law, some of which were hitherto thought unthinkable and impossible in this part of the world, given our recent political history. We have commenced a process of demonstrating that the law can truly apply to all and that the society can insist on accountability where infractions have occurred. The process may naturally not yet be completely smooth, but there is no doubt that as a nation, our journey to an era of the supremacy of the law is now irreversible. Over the last 3 years, we have pursued various initiatives designed to prevent crimes, expose crimes, and punish crimes, especially against our national resources. We have worked to strengthen the capacity of our investigative and prosecutorial agencies in order to improve their levels of compliance with their mandates. We have embarked on an aggressive asset recovery program, the scale of which has never been witnessed in our country. We are working strongly with the judiciary to improve courtroom processes and quicken the pace of justice delivery, and have also expanded the scope of global cooperation to ensure greater collaboration with our international partners in legal matters, among other achievements. As an association, let us therefore commit to the building of sustainable institutions in order to make the present initiatives permanent and definitely irreversible. Strong institutions create enduring value, promote transparency and accountability, and foster a system of predictability in the conduct of business and application of the law. These are principles which will promote the practice of law in Nigeria, enhance our global competitiveness, and ultimately improve the economic fortunes of all legal practitioners in Nigeria. I trust that in the quest, our objective will remain common. In conclusion, may I wish all, once more, a very fruitful conference. The conference topics have been designed to make us all better lawyers at the end of Abuja 2018. I trust that we shall all take advantage of the rich sessions. Your Excellencies, my lords, my learned friends, I thank you all for your attention. I look forward to a most productive conference. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malami.
Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami,
Very useful thoughts to think about.
also
And before I move
showing
on,
that he
very importantly,
appreciates the presence of the president and talked about using law as an instrumentality of achieving the goals of the federal government. The next speaker is going to be the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen.
Receive a Google message from the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Mr. Justice Walter Samuel Nkanu Onogen, SGCON. Please, can we put our hands together for him as he comes?
May I begin by saying all apologies accepted. Your Excellencies, my lords of various jurisdictions, Your Royal Highnesses, members of the inner and outer bar, particularly the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, my president, and past presidents of the Nigerian Bar Association herein present, distinguished members of the Executive Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association, may I say at this stage, distinguished ladies and gentlemen at the bar, welcome and thank you very much for this opportunity. It is my utmost pleasure to address you as we begin the 58th Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, where members of the Nigerian Bar across the country gather to celebrate and take stock of the legal profession. I consider it a great privilege as the bar is the cradle from which the Nigerian legal practitioners are nurtured into the various aspects of law practice, the judiciary or bench, academia, and other spheres of human endeavors. Permit me to most especially welcome the keynote speaker, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana, himself an accomplished lawyer of 47 years standing, a substantial part of which he spent in the trenches championing the cause of human rights, rule of law, justice, freedom, and democracy. A quintessential but dogged politician, President Akufo-Addo is undoubtedly eminently qualified to address us on the thematic trends of the conference. The central theme of the conference, transition, transformation, and sustainable institutions, is indeed apt and touches on issues that are fundamental to the development and sustenance of every democratic society. Whether you talk about respect for the rule of law, or independence and efficiency of all arms of government, or security, economic, and all-round development, it is clear sustained transition and transformation of institutions are sine qua non to these goals. Transition as an aspect of the conference theme connotes, among other things, political transition from one government to the next through peaceful, credible election process. The ability of eligible citizens to decide the leadership of their country is in free, fair, and credible elections is the hallmark of a democratic society. That great Pan-Africanist W.E. Du Bois reminds us that, and I quote, "The power of the ballot we need in shared defense. Else, what shall save us from a second slavery?" Unquote. Often we think of elections as an event or dates on the calendar. This is, however, to downgrade or erode the significance of the ballot as a veritable tool for effecting peaceful or political transitions and the sustenance of democracy. Election is definitely not an event, but a process fashioned to enrich the constitutional democracy. Consequently, in the event of electoral disputes, the judiciary must be able to play the role of independent, dispassionate arbiter without fear of favor, affection, or ill will. Members of the bar are also intrinsically relevant to the success of this process. In less than a year from today, Nigeria will be conducting her general elections into the executive and legislative arms of government at federal and state levels. It is expected that the elections will reflect the will of the majority of the electorate. However, the bar must partner with key stakeholders to play the critical role of transition and voter education to ensure that eligible members of the public are properly enlightened on the need to participate in the process and conduct themselves lawfully. Such peaceful and largely accepted electoral outcome will engender peace and stability in the polity and ensure sustainable, innovative developments. The transition of any society is hinged, among other things, on efficient technology and information and communication technology, or ICT-based service delivery. Thus, an independent, technology-driven justice system is fundamental to ensuring the establishment and promotion of sustainable institutions. I am pleased to note that the Nigerian judiciary is mindful of this and has therefore embraced ICT solutions in order to attain an efficient justice administration in our country. Permit me to recall in particular the operationalization since 2nd February 2018 of the Supreme Court of Nigeria electronic mailing system and my further directives that by the end of July 2018, the Supreme Court will only accept filings through the Nigerian legal email system and will stop accepting court processes in paper forms. This is to ensure that case management tools can now be accessed easily from the comfort of our homes. Very soon, once enrollment on the judiciary's Nigerian legal email system is fully achieved, in conjunction with the Nigerian Bar Association, hearing notices will be by email to lawyers. It is evident that proficiency in ICT will be a prerequisite for career advancement within the Nigerian judiciary in no distant future. It is also intended that the lower courts will ultimately adopt this system, and this will certainly resolve long-standing problems of delays and inefficiency in the judiciary. I expect that this conference will examine these issues and discuss their ramifications for legal practice and society in general. I therefore enjoin all conference participants to pay rapt attention, contribute robustly to the conversations in the various sessions, and work towards producing a policy guide geared towards ensuring peaceful, developed Nigeria, which we can all be proud of. As I conclude, I congratulate the outgoing president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Abubakar Balarabe Mahmood, SAN, for his dogged determination in steering the affairs of the association and working towards the planning and organization of this conference. May I also appreciate the planning committee of the 2018 conference for their efforts towards ensuring a successful bar conference. I wish you all a successful conference. Thank you, and God bless us all. Amen.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen, has been able to tell the people on the need of free, fair, and credible election as the bastion of democracy. The Chief Justice of Nigeria is usually apt on the need for the vote of the people to count in the forthcoming elections in the interests of peace.
Please put your hands together as he comes.
Please sit down. Thank you very much. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Chief Samuel Onogen, GCON, Excellencies, the governors of Bauchi and Kano states, members of the National Assembly, members of the Federal Executive Council, Justice of the Supreme Court, and other members of the judiciary, President of the Nigerian Bar Association, His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to address this distinguished gathering on the occasion of the 2018 annual conference of the Nigerian Bar Association. Let me thank your association for the invitation to declare this conference open and to express my hope that the conference will consolidate the position of the NBA as a prime stakeholder in our national affairs. I am informed that with an average attendance of over 10,000 participants, this conference represents one of the largest single gatherings of lawyers anywhere in the world. I congratulate you all for this achievement, which is a plus for our nation. The theme of this year 2018 NBA conference is Transition, Transformation, and Sustainable Institutions. It's one which is apt in the light of our contemporary domestic and global challenges. I also consider it significant in view of the fact that it once more demonstrates the willingness of the NBA to address issues not only related to the immediate practice of law, but more importantly, to solutions of wider society's problems. Since the inauguration of this administration, I have had the privilege in observing at first hand how societies experience transition, attempt transformation, and build or strengthen institutions to manage these processes. As you will recall, this administration's emergence marked the first successful civilian transition in Nigeria's democratic history, following the outcome of the 2015 general elections. Given the enormity of the challenges we inherited and the yearnings of our citizenry earnestly desirous of a new way of running national affairs, our first challenge was the need to transform our country speedily into a society where impunity in the management of national resources would be replaced with a culture of accountability and transparency. We needed to deploy our resources to address our common needs rather than the greed of a careless few. In order to achieve this, we have had to disrupt age-old assumptions and unsettle ancient norms in the management of our national patrimony, as we have all witnessed in the last 3 years. While we have made appreciable progress in several sectors, including public awareness of the need to challenge the corrupt and the brazen in our midst, we have also learned useful lessons on the dynamism of our society. However, elements within every society, including some lawyers, can equally become unduly resistant to change, even where it is proven that such change is to serve the interests of the larger society. At worst, corruption fights back. Your Excellencies, my lords, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we gradually move into another season of intense political activities, preparatory to the 2019 general elections, I enjoin you to remember that by reason of your profession, you all have a responsibility to work to national cohesion and unity through your speeches and public positions, and most importantly, in your advocacy in court. In the context of opinions and narratives about our past and present political and socio-economic experience, you cannot afford to jettison rational and proper analysis of issues in a matter which builds rather than destroys the nation. I also urge you to work to uphold and improve the sanctity and integrity of our judicial and electoral institutions, which play a fundamental role in the sustenance and growth of our democracy. However, let me remind you all, my dear compatriots, that the law can only be optimally practiced in a Nigeria that is safe, secure, and prosperous. As you go into this annual conference, let me assure you of the resolve of this administration to promote measures that will achieve a vibrant economy under which the practice of law will thrive. Through fiscal discipline, good housekeeping, we navigated the difficult days of economic transformation at the beginning of this government in 2015 and have now come to improving economic indices, including the consistent increase in our foreign reserves, 13 straight months of decreasing inflation, the expansion of social safety net programs, as well as the blockages of historical drain pipes in our national treasury, all within the context of the economic recovery and growth plan. It is equally significant to emphasize that our willingness to hold persons accountable for offenses against society through the judicial process will equally transform the future of public service in Nigeria in a positive manner. I believe that lawyers can contribute to another core objective of enhancing our business environment and promoting social justice by promoting respect for the rule of law, contributing to the law reform process, and putting national interest and professional ethics above self in the conduct of their business. Rule of law must be subject to the supremacy of the nation's security and the national interest. Our apex court has had cause to adopt a position on this issue in this regard, and it is now a matter of judicial recognition that where national security and public interests are threatened, or there is a likelihood of their being threatened, the individual rights of those allegedly responsible must take second place in favor of the greater good of society. I trust that this conference will achieve tremendous success, and I urge that you all to participate actively in its various intellectual and social activities in order to build new bonds and strengthen old relationships. I congratulate the incoming National Executive of the Nigerian Bar Association, led by Mr. Paul Osoro, SAN, and wish it a successful tenure in its task of advancing legal practice in Nigeria. In conclusion, may I wish you all once more a very fruitful conference. It is my hope that the outcome of your deliberations will impact positively on the socio-economic fortunes of our country and Africa in the years ahead, and improve access of our poor and underprivileged in our society to justice. I look forward to reading the conclusions of your conference. Your Excellencies, my lords, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the bar, it is now my pleasure to declare the 2018 Annual Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association open. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
He has, in a way, thrown some issues to the bar to discuss during this week without directly talking about the theme, transition, transformation, and sustainable institutions. The president has told the lawyers that the strengthening of the security and safety institutions of Nigeria should be foremost than the individual rights of some personalities. That may be controversial to people who are human rights experts, so to say, but that tells you that a nation first must survive before individuals in it survive. And the president has said that the issues his government has tackled, the issues of corruption, the issues of security, are most fundamental as to be able to tell Nigerians that these are factors that would help sustain the life of a nation and not begin to look for all the means to make individuals sustainable. He also talked about, he also enjoined the officers of the Temple of Justice to always stand on the path of justice. And of course, that is a way of saying that strengthening the institution of justice is also fundamental. The law can be practiced in a sane and safe and secure Nigeria. Of course, that is part of what he said, that we cannot practice law. We who think that the law must hold sway, there won't be any law to practice if the Nigerian society itself is not safe. The national interest must be put to the fore in the country's legal system. These are some of the major highlights of the president's speech. And in a way, I would not be surprised if various sessions, and that is the essence of this conference, the president has thrown some issues up, and during the week, some various sessions will be talking about these issues that the president has spoken about. But most importantly, it is about the survival of Nigeria, which the president has clung to and has held so strongly to in his discussion, in his opening address at this 2018 Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association. It is not actually the first time that the president is attending matters that directly relate to justice. I remember in 2016, he attended the All Nigerian Judges Conference, which was held at the Nigerian Institute of National Judicial Institute. His vice, too, has also been part of such various gatherings of lawyers. And at every point in time, they have never ceased to tell lawyers that they need to work for the unity of Nigeria, for the survival of Nigeria, while also working for the individual rights of Nigerians.
May I ask that you keep standing as Mr. President exits the building. Really appreciate your presence, Your Excellency, for joining us today. Thank you all. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to ask that you sit and enjoy a cultural performance by the National Council for Arts and Culture. We're not done yet, so please take your seats, and I'm sure you will enjoy this presentation by the National Council for Arts and Culture.
Opening ceremony still continues, and in a moment we will be hearing music from cultural group, but we want to discuss with some of the lawyers who have listened to this speech by the president and indeed the opening ceremony. One of them is Malam Yusuf Ali, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Your comments on the opening ceremony and then the speech of the president.
Well, it's been quite colorful, very interesting. And everything has been done in a pretty very good way. Of course, the president made his speech, and he understands, he underscores the importance of the rule of law, and calls attention to the fact that the rule of law is very important and that lawyers must play their role. It is very heartening that the president of the republic himself recognizes the fact that as we approach elections next year, all stakeholders in the Nigerian project must do what is right, politicians, lawyers, and other stakeholders. And I think for me, that is the underlying point of his speech, that we must all do things in accordance with the law and in accordance with the rule of law as we approach 2019 and beyond.
You also talked about the survival of a nation.
The survival of a nation is very important, but nations only survive when there is the rule of law. You can't subvert the rule of law and expect the nation to survive. I think that we must do the correct balancing to ensure that we observe the rule of law, but why not compromising the survival of our nation and our security.
Thank you very much, Malam Yusuf Ali, for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's also invite another well-known Nigerian lawyer, this time a human rights exponent in Nigeria, Chief Mike Ozekweme. Your comments about the 2018 Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association first, before we go to...
Yeah, the theme is very apt, transition, transformation, and development of institutions. I have always believed that we should build strong institutions and not strong men. The more we build strong institutions and not strong men, then the more we give vent to the rule of law. The rule of law is what is the oxygen that a society breathes to be able to develop at all. I listened to Mr. President's speech where he talked about national security overriding individual rights. But I want to disagree with Mr. President on the ground that there is an arm of government which the president himself has acknowledged, and that is the judiciary, which is the arbiter between the state and individuals, and between individuals and individuals. So once that arm of government, the judiciary, has made a pronouncement, for example, that a citizen should be released on bail after argument between government lawyers and the citizens' lawyers, it is for the government to obey that judicial pronouncement. It is no longer for the government to sit on appeal
over the decision of a judge, which in his own discretion, whimsically and capriciously elevates societal interest above that of the individual.
You know, I told you that some of the issues that the president raised will be discussed in depth during the various sessions. And Malam Yusuf Ali and Chief Mike Ozokome have already started those issues. Thank you very much for coming. We will be discussing more of those things. And now there are also many other areas that this conference is going to be talking about, the areas of institution strengthening. One of the areas, the institutions that this country needs to strengthen in the transition to election is the INEC. And those are some of the areas that this area would be talking about. So we'll join the other aspects of this opening ceremony, possibly music and cultural dances, and then we will be winding up on this session of the opening ceremony.
He's also with us today. We also have the president of the Rwandan Bar Association, Julian Kay, here. We have a representative of the Bar Council of England, and we also have a representative of the American Bar Association. So you're all welcome, and we look forward to engaging you over the course of the conference.
Now, that does it for the opening ceremony of the 2018 Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association. You have seen how full the International Conference Center has been, with lawyers from all parts of the country, and indeed part of Africa gracing this ceremony. It's going to be a week of discussions on the issues that bite on the existence of Nigeria. We have already seen some of the fireworks start at this opening ceremony, and it's just nice to hear the president talk on behalf of the state of Nigeria, and lawyers have no job other than to talk on the individual rights, which they have done. But these would form part of the various discussions that will be done during the week. Like was hinted earlier, the president of Ghana will be here tomorrow to talk about this theme, transition of and the strengthening of institutions. On behalf of the crew of the Nigerian Television Authority and on behalf of my co-commentator Dele Atubi, I am Femi Okewo, thanking you for being part of this live telecast. See you again.